Hi, my name is Tammy Gardner. I've been in the financial industry for total about 40 years, actually. And I started working when I was two. Not really. Anyway, I spent 30 years between loan origination for mortgages on the residential side to loan servicing on the backside, audits, compliance, all the administrative functions. And I did that to 2008, 9, 10, that whole area, and was around for the big crash in 2007, 8, that time period. I really saw at that time behind the matrix, like when you look inside something, you can never unsee what you see. And because you see how the system really is working. It's like the matrix. And the truth is that our system, the financial system in this country, is working, it's designed to work for the banks and Wall Street and to make them make compound interest and interest upon interest upon interest. That's our society. But not so great for the consumer who ends up paying interest that's amortized, stretched out over years and years and years, mortgages, loans, credit cards, etc. So I became very interested in how does money work? How do we make this work for us consumers? There must be a way to use the math of the banks for the math of the consumers, right? Like we got to be able to flip the switch a bit. And how can we use that technology? Because it is a technology. Compounding interest and making your money grow is a technology. In fact, you probably have heard this before, but Albert Einstein, one of his quotes was that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. I think that's very true. It's very true for me. I'm 68 years old. I wasn't born yesterday, and I've learned tips about interest of only 5 years ago. And not that I didn't make good money, not that I didn't set aside some money. Did I save enough? No. Did I spend a lot? Yes. But I was educated, but I wasn't educated on how interest could really work for me and my family. And one of the things we run into is that there's a real big difference between interest rate and payment, right? Rate and payment and the volume of interest that we pay over time. So we're sold on this whole thing about interest rate. Interest rate, okay, it's a low interest rate, or even if it's a high interest rate, I can afford that minimum payment. I'm going to get that car, I'm going to get that house, whatever. And we're taught to focus on that like almost a cat with a mouse, but we're taught that by Wall Street and the banking system. Don't worry about it. We'll make you a nice minimum payment that you can afford, right? So what happens is, though, that is the focus of getting us into debt from the banks. But in truth, the big picture, the conceptual understanding of this is that we pay a huge amount of interest over time. All the time, our money is with the bank, we're paying off our loan. So take a mortgage. Again, you may know this. If you do, skip ahead. Mortgages are the interest is front end loaded, which means most all of the interest is paid in the beginning of the loan. It's like, between the first 15 years, 16 years, 17 years, or what have you. On a mortgage, you're actually paying mostly interest. So that is an example. Now, if you actually if you own a home, take out your mortgage statement and look at your payment and then look at how much actually this month went to interest versus principal. That's volume, the percentage of how much is going to interest versus what's going to principal is a ratio. That is interest volume. It's shocking, especially these days with rates being so high. But even when rates were low, for instance, I had a 3.5% interest rate on my mortgage. I bought it in 2016, 17, right? And I thought that is so cheap. I mean, why even pay off the mortgage? It's like free money. Well, actually, not so much. when I ran my own analysis or someone ran it for me, I found out that I actually was able to save 70% of the interest volume that I was due to pay on that house. And since then, I paid the house off, not making double payments, no fancy mortgage payment program, but on my actual budget. And it was really amazing. So it's all about how we are paying back our principal to our mortgages. And it doesn't require extra income in your budget. Like a lot of people would say, hey, well, if I had more income, I'd pay double payments. Of course, we all would. But who has a lot of extra income lying around? Some people do, some people don't. So the purpose of this whole thing is to educate ourselves on interest volume because truthfully, you can use technology and it's actually math. It's not magic. It might seem like magic, but it's not. It's numbers, 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 because it's the way we pay back our principal on the debts that we have, whether it's a mortgage, a credit card, a student loan, auto loan, a small business, an SBA loan, a small business loan, any kind of debt. It's how we're paying that extra principal back when we're paying it back. So there's actually there's a whole technology. I never had this when I was growing up. We didn't get taught this in school, but there's a whole technology, which is like a financial GPS for your finances, and it can direct you where you're going to your goals, but it helps you crush the interest volume. So the whole idea of this is to not just, some people want to be debt free, right? They're like, I'm never going to borrow again. I just want to live lean and mean. I'm not going to borrow any money. But a lot of people go, look, I want to increase my equity or get out of debt so I can then re-leverage my credit or re-leverage my home, and make my money make me money, like get rental properties or do other investments or what have you. But if we are tied to paying so much interest to the bank isn't, the bank has our money for most of our life. So what if you could shrink the time that the bank actually had your money on any kind of debt? Then you can reuse your money, rinse and repeat, as it says on the shampoo bottles, right? So this is stuff that we're not taught in schools. I certainly wasn't knowing about it, even though I had been in the industry. So when I really saw this amount of information that we could use as consumers, I very, very passionate about bringing that out to people and helping them. And hopefully they'll find out, learn what they don't know about money will slow them down, and maybe they'll learn it sooner than I did. I'd like to teach people before age 68, but it's never too young, it's never too old, and there's ways to actually do that. So I really love what I do. I love to help people. We'd be honored to serve.